Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So I often get asked super weird questions. For example, many people ask me that Akshat, I want to have kids. How much money should I start saving now? Now, interestingly, this question has been asked to me a lot by college students. Now, there are kids who say that I have seen Deepika auntie and Ranveer uncle getting married in Lake Como. So I also want to get married there someday. So how much money should I start saving now? So I thought that I will shoot a simple video where I will explain you the finance and math behind three very important critical decisions that all of us take in our life. What are these three decisions? Number one, it is about higher education. Number two, it is about marriage. Number three, it is about having kids. So I'll explain you the math and finance behind it. Super important video. You can skip to the section that is most relevant to you, and I will explain this topic in a very simple, easy to understand language and in a fun way. So let us get started, and this video has been sponsored by Golden Pie, which is India's #1 bond investing platform, and they have a series of bonds that are listed on their platform and you could consider investing via it. So more about this later in the video. So first and foremost, let us analyze the decision of higher studies and understand the finance and math behind it. So almost all of us would want to study or pursue higher education. This can be at an undergraduate level or at a master's level. And many a times we do an MBA, MS, we study in India or abroad. And for this, we need to plan sensibly financially. So what is the total kharcha or expenses under such situation? So it can range. For example, if you are trying to do an MBA from abroad, let's say from Harvard, then it might cost you upwards of 1.5 crores. If you are trying to do a basic higher education degree in India, then it might only cost you 5 or 6 lakhs. So the range is huge, but let us take a very interesting example here of ISB MBA and let us try to understand sensibly whether it would make sense for you, financially speaking, to pursue such a degree, under what circumstances it might be sensible, under what circumstances it might not be sensible. While there are many factors at play, I will analyze the most important factor and let me know in the comment box if you would want me to do a detailed study. I will pick apart this topic and make an extensive video on this. And also for that, please like this video. If I get 15,000 likes, I will pick apart individual topics from this video and make extensive videos out of them. Okay, so back to the topic of ISB MBA or any type of MBA or higher education degree. What you need to keep in mind is the payback period. So that is one of the most critical components of analyzing the finance behind a certain degree. So what exactly is payback period? So payback period in very simple, easy to understand language means this. For example, let's say that you are going and doing an MBA from ISB, then the total expense comes out to be roughly, let's say 50 lakh rupees. Now you take a loan, you pursue your degree, then you start working, you get a good job, you start making good amount of money. Now let's assume that your after tax salary comes out to be 1.5 lakhs. Now you're not going to pay this entire 1.5 lakh rupees as EMI because you also have a house, you might be paying an EMI, you need some kharcha for watching Netflix and whatnot, right? So let's assume that you will be paying 50,000 rupees out of it. So 50 lakh rupees divided by 50,000 into 12 because that gives you an yearly rate. So that number, whatever that number comes out to be, becomes your payback period. In simple terms, it means that it took you X number of years to repay your loan for ISB MBA. So that is a very important matrix that you need to keep in mind before making a commitment whether to do a Harvard MBA, NCR MBA, ISB MBA or do some other type of higher education degree. Now, in order to calculate the payback period, there are three components that you need to calculate. So first and foremost, you need a very clear understanding as to how much expenditure you are going to incur. For example, if you go on ISB's website, you can clearly see and estimate the total expenses there, and it comes out to be roughly 45 lakh rupees. So I will open an Excel spreadsheet and I will input the total fees or total expenditure as 45 lakh rupees. Now, second step, what you need to do is that you need to make an assumption that, okay, I'm going to take a loan of this entire amount. And for attending a school like ISB, majority of the students end up taking a loan. Now, what is the loan rate and loan tenure? So loan tenure means that, okay, you are given a period of 7 years or 8 years or 10 years to repay that loan. So what does that rate and tenure comes out to be? So even if we take conservative estimates, the education loan comes out to be at least around 9%. So we are working with that estimate that your rate of interest that you would be charged on this principal of 45 lakh rupees would come out to be 9%. Now you are roughly given 8 years to repay this loan. So this makes it 96 months. Now if you take this 9% component of interest, then the total amount of money that you need to repay comes out to be roughly 49 lakh rupees. So you take these 49 lakh rupees and divide it by 96 months. So that becomes your EMI per month. So what does that come out to be? So your EMI for the MBA comes out to be roughly 51,000 rupees per month. Now, can you get better rates? Of course, you can get better rates. Do you need to take the entire amount as loans? No, you don't need to do that. There can be a range of permutations and combinations that can be run in these calculations, but I'm presenting a general calculation numbers so that you can approximate in your mind that, okay, if I'm going to do my MBA from ISB, this is the amount of EMI I will have to keep paying for 8 years in my life after I complete my ISB MBA. So this becomes your rough math and it gives you a very clear criteria whether to do an MBA from ISB or not. So now comes a related question that can you actually pay a 52,000 rupee EMI for the next 8 years after graduating from ISB? So how do you run that computation? Very easy. Go to ISB, figure out the average salary at ISB. So after doing little bit of Googling, I was able to find this number and it comes out to be roughly 28 lakh rupees as CTC as per last year. So that is CTC, cost to company. So at least reduce 20% of it. So that will become your gross salary net. So what I've done is that I've reduced roughly 20% of the amount. So this gives us a gross salary of 22.4 lakh rupees. Now this is the gross salary. You have to pay taxes on it. So let's roughly assume 25% tax. You might take some tax deductibles, this, that, whatnot, right? So your after tax salary becomes 16.8 lakh rupees. So if you divide it on a monthly basis, then it comes out to be roughly 1.4 lakh rupees a month. Now you ask yourself that if I'm earning 1.4 lakh rupees, can I pay an EMI of 52,000 rupees? The answer could be yes and no, because if you already have a ton of existing loans on your head, if you have an EMI for your iPhone, EMI for your car, EMI for your second car, EMI for your beach house in Goa, whatnot, then it might become a problem for you. You might not be able to repay that loan. On the flip side, if ISB education loan is the only thing sitting on your head, if you are making a salary of 1.5 lakh rupees, can you pay an EMI of 51,000 at the start post your ISB career? The answer is yes, you can easily do it. So this is my analysis of higher education. You can play around with the numbers, create a similar Excel spreadsheet for you, and you will get a very clear, concise idea whether you should be going and studying abroad, going and studying at ISB, going and studying at some other university, college degree. You can make that assessment. Two very important final points that I will leave you with. The first and foremost is the earning potential growth. So please understand this simple basic viewpoint, because whenever you are availing any type of loan, whether it is for pursuing an MBA or any other degree, what you need to understand is the differential between your existing salary and your post-degree salary. Again, let me work through an example. So let's say that before going to ISB, you are making a salary of, let's say, 10 lakh rupees a year. Now after ISB, you started making a salary of 20 lakh rupees a year. So what is the difference that has been created? The difference has been 20 lakhs minus 10 lakhs. So that is the earning potential improvement that has come due to ISB. So always go for degrees where there is massive earning potential improvement. This brings me to the second and more important point, that many a times people just assume that going to Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, it is going to be super expensive, 1.5 crore rupee, this, that. If I go to INSEAD, the fee is 80 lakhs, this, that. Yes, it is there, but the earning potential difference becomes huge, because most likely when Indians go to Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, INSEAD, what ends up happening is that we are mostly working in India before going to these colleges. So our income here would be 15-20 lakhs max. But after you graduate from Harvard, INSEAD, etc., if you're working in Singapore, if you're working in the US, then your income differential becomes huge. Now, yes, there are additional kharcha, whatnot, but still your overall savings, your total savings living abroad, working abroad is much higher in elite jobs compared to jobs in India. So therefore, this chart will make a lot of sense that the payback period for European MBA is in months, because the expenses are not as high as American colleges, because the American colleges are slightly longer in duration when you're trying to complete your education. And second, you end up getting similar type of jobs both in Europe and US, provided that you are graduating from elite colleges. Okay, if you want me to make a detailed video, I'm happy to do it. Just let me know in the comment. Let's move on to the second major milestone in our life, which is around marriage. Okay, so I'm going to take a lot of heat, especially from parents. There will be a lot of parents in the comment section who will give me an earful. So here it goes. Someone needs to say it. Okay, so here's the math. Then let's assume that you end up spending 25 lakh rupees on your wedding. Is that too much of an amount, too less of an amount? I can't really comment, but this is the average data that I could get, that this is what an average middle class, upper middle class family spends on marriage. Is that amount very high? Yes, of course it is very, very high. But marriage is an event that can be done even for 20,000 rupees, and it can go all the way to 20 crores also. So there is no range here. But let us work with a simple assumption that we are going to spend 25 lakh rupees on a marriage. Now, of course, if there are kids who want to get married in Lake Como or book some castle in Scotland or book some private beach in Goa, then the cost of wedding can go haywire. But let's work with a simple assumption of 25 lakh rupees for marriage, which I think is a very sensible assumption. Now, let's assume that you don't have this money upfront. You have saved a little bit of money, but let's assume that you take all this money on loan. Can you get a marriage loan? Yes, you can get a marriage loan. Almost all the major banks in India give you a marriage loan. What is the rate of interest that they charge? They charge usually between 10 to 14% for marriage loans, which is very, very high. But let's run a conservative estimate. So let's assume an interest of 10% only. So what is the total amount that you will have to pay? You will have to pay 27.5 lakh rupees, assuming a payback period of 6 years. So you will have to pay this loan in 6 years. So that gives 72 months. So your monthly EMI becomes almost 39,000 rupees every single month for the next 6 married years of your life. Now think about it, that has your earning potential gone up because you have spent 25 lakh rupees on marriage through loan? The answer most likely would be a no. Now sometimes middle class, upper middle class families spend 50 lakhs, 1 crore on wedding expenditure, and you can imagine how much the EMI would be in case you end up taking the loan for the entire amount. It will run in lakhs probably. It could be a very, very big expense. So please be mindful of that. Please do not take a lot of loans for marriages. It is great that Deepika and Ranveer got married in Lake Como or whatever, but they have massive earning potential. Similarly, many a times parents will tell you that, you know what, when Ambani ji's daughter and sons got married, they distributed gold coins to all their employees. Okay, they are Ambanis. They are probably the richest people in India. They can afford to do it. Their total expense on wedding would not be more than 1 or 2% of their entire year's worth of salaries. So please do not increase your marriage expenditure just because Ambanis are doing it, or Ranveer Deepika are doing it, or Alia someone else is doing it, all that stuff, right? So please do not get into this game. It can prove to be very, very dangerous for you. Now let's move on to point number 3 and the final milestone, which is around having kids. So these days, having kids in India or in any part of the world, it is very, very expensive. What is the total expense that you need to plan out for if you are having kids in a country like India? So estimates tell us that for every kid, you should plan an expense of 1.5 to 2 crore rupees. Now you will say that, okay, this is highly depressing. First, I'm not able to find someone to marry. And then second, even having kids is so expensive. This is just not fair. So let's break the argument that this 1.5-2 crore rupee is not something that you need on day one or the day your kid is born. And subsequently, a kid becomes like a Netflix or Amazon Prime subscription that every month you have to spend a part of your salary on your kids. So it becomes like a subscription service. Okay, so I'm going to get a lot of heat in the comment box, but let's continue the conversation. So essentially, when you are having kids, you need to budget your kids' expenses into 3 different buckets or 3 different phases. So the first phase is the upfront phase. This would be the phase when your kid is usually less than 2 years old. You have undertaken the delivery cost, you have undertaken the medical expenses, and the early upbringing years for your child. So this is the phase I have recently been through because I have a 2-year-old son Zain who just turned 2. So as per different estimates, you require a budget of 5 to 6.5 lakh rupees. That is the amount that you're looking at. Before deciding to have a kid, please have this fund secured. So this is about creating your corpus one for kid. Please have this amount secured and please put that money in a slightly risk-free instrument. You can go check out some of the bond options from Golden Pie. Bonds are relatively safer compared to equities or other forms of investment. So from that angle, if you are having a corpus of 5-6.5 lakh rupees for having a kid, please put that money in some form of bonds. You are not trying to create massive capital out of it. You are simply trying to preserve your money. Now comes phase number 2. This is the age between approximately 3 years to 16-17 years. These are the school going years. This is the total expense that you would need to undertake in order to insure. So this could be called as school corpus, and the total amount of money that you need here is an expense of roughly 50,000 to 1 lakh rupees a year. So how much money do you need to save for this phase of your child? You roughly need to create an initial corpus of how much? Between 5 to 10 lakh rupees. If you have that much money and if you are able to grow it at a rate of between 8 to 10%, then you are in a very sensible position, because during the school years of your kids, you will still be actively working, you will still be fairly young. So you will be able to fund your child's early education through a combination of your active income and the corpus income that you are trying to build. So from an investment viewpoint, at least save between 5 to 10 lakh rupees, create that corpus first. put it in a combination of equities and bonds, in relatively safe equities and bonds, and grow it around 10%. If you are able to do it, that would take care financing a lot of financial uncertainties associated with your child's education. So that is the goal that you are working towards. Now the third corpus that you would need to create for your child is called as college fund. Now here, how much money you are aiming to build? You are aiming to build at least 50 lakh rupees. Why? You can read an article here. So if you're looking to build 50 lakh rupees, you will raise your hand that, you know what, okay, I can't earn so much money. This is just madness. No, you don't need to think that way. Now you need to understand the power of compounding. Your kid will go to college when they are almost 18 years old. So you get 18 years to build this corpus of 50 lakh rupees. Can you do it? Absolutely, yes. You can easily do it. You need to put that money in a growth instrument. Now, what is a growth instrument? You can simply do Nifty based investing or buy some blue chip equities. And here is the math behind it, that if you are saving 8,000 rupee every single month for building this college fund corpus, grow that money even at 10% and you are hitting approximately 50 lakh rupees as your final amount, which you will get at the end of 18 years. So I will quickly recap. Before having a child, save 5 lakh rupees. Then in another 2 to 3 year time, create a corpus of 5 to 10 lakh rupees. Then finally create a third fund, which is the college fund, where you will keep on investing 8,000 rupees only every single month for your child's education. Now, many of you would say that, okay, all this is a lot of jhamela. You have to do so much financial planning. Unfortunately, yes, you have to undertake financial planning sensibly. So please don't take crazy EMIs. Don't spend your money unnecessarily. Please don't keep 50 different EMIs on your head, because the way I have explained you these concepts, you anyways need to keep some EMIs running to secure your kids' future. So please do that. On top of that, and this is not good news, but I will still tell you that when you have kids, it's not only a commitment of money, it's also a lot of commitment of time. For example, when I had Zain, I still had to manage my career. My wife has been extremely supportive. My family had been extremely supportive. But my son was born in 2020. Post that, I had come on YouTube. I have been able to manage 2 of my channels, manage a small team, create multiple businesses, write my book, travel, whatnot, right? So I'm not saying this to boast. I'm simply trying to tell you that kids require a lot of your effort and time. So when you have kids, you have to plan your life really, really well. You have to be very organized. You have to understand time management. That is one thing that people miss, that you have to be extremely efficient in terms of managing your time. And also you need to have a support system around you. Both the things are required. If I did not have the support system around me, I would not even have been able to shoot this video. So yes, having kids is a lot of commitment. Many people categorize kids as assets or liabilities. Kids are pure love. That is what I would say. I would not categorize them into assets, liabilities. It is not a financial decision, but definitely to secure their future, you need to plan things sensibly. And it all starts with planning for your education, planning for your marriage, and eventually planning for your kids and your family members. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please share it with your friends, and I will see you soon.